Are we in a frame? I introduce you and then I can.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right, talking to Mike.
Hi.
Hello.
Awesome, we're live.
Okay,
Great.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm excited for the second session today. I'm here with Daniela Romero Najera, and she is with VetMap. And when I tell you what you're about to hear may change your life, when I went through this program, it actually did change my life because I was able to figure out what my purpose was and articulate that in one sentence. So my purpose is living by faith, fostering growth through service. And when many of us get out the military or just period, we're trying to figure out what has God called us to do. And being able to determine that is a powerful thing. So I'm really excited to have Daniela here with us today. She's a subject matter expert. She's the number 2 at VetMap. She is the main facilitator, SME. She's the person you want to talk about this. And so I'm excited to have her here today. And plus, she's sweet as pie on top of all of that. So I'm excited to introduce Daniela and take it away.
Thank you, Melanie. Appreciate the introduction. All right. VetMap is the Veterans Evaluation of Talent plus Matching Assistance Program. It takes people on a journey from purpose to impact. The 2 most important days of your life are the day that you are born and the day that you find out why. VetMap consists of 2 main pieces, the vet piece and the map piece. The Veterans Evaluation of Talent consists of gaining a lot of introspective awareness in order to help veterans understand who they are and why they are here. The Matching Assistance Program is very much focused on being able to help them find something that is in alignment with their purpose, specifically career ambitions that are in alignment with their purpose. This program, although we focus on veterans, is applicable to all people. And I personally believe that if everybody knew their purpose in life, the world would be a better place. So today, here's what we're going to explore. What we're going to explore is the history of the p2i journey, the purpose to impact journey, the transition challenge data, our question and intervention hypothesis, the purpose mountain metaphor, the p2i journey, the defining keywords, intervention comparison data, and any time on the screen that you are able to see this little timeout sign with the question marks, it means that I'm opening up the floor for a few questions. However, there'll be questions only covering the stuff that is up top. And then we'll move on from those questions to career currency trust, the brand style and tools power zones, another timeout, and then personal brands, addressing nuances, last thoughts, and a connect with us. All right, let's get started. So the history of the p2i journey begins with our founder, Jason Walker, and his journey in trying to become a sailor in the Navy. However, he was unable to do that because he got terribly sick when he was going on a trip out to see if he was going to be fit to join the Navy. So while being out at sea, very sick, he came back, he talked to his grandfather, who had been in the military, and he was so devastated, and he said, "Son, it's okay. You're just not meant for this, and that's okay because God has a greater plan for you, and you'll see later what that is." So as the rest of his life would have it, he continued on in the corporate world, and eventually all his friends that he went to college with at Texas A&M University, who graduated in the class of 90 range, they all started to either join the military or continue their paths in the corporate world. Well, Jason Walker had this one friend, Mr. John Albers, who graduated with him, and he had been in the Marine Corps for 25 years. So after being in the Marine Corps for 25 years, he felt very sure that this is what I love to do, this is what I want to do, but you know what? In the military, you can't be there the rest of your life. So of course he had to retire after 25 years, which was devastating for him. So Mr. John Albers had a tough time transitioning out of the military, and he came to Jason Walker for advice. Jason Walker said, "You know what? I've been hearing a lot of really cool things in relation to Clifton Strengths. How about we address what your values are? Let's get down to understanding what is exactly the point of you being here, and see what you could do next. These were the beginning steps of what we know now as Vet Plus Map. So as they were going along, it became apparent that Mr. John Alvers had a lot of entrepreneurial talent, and he could not believe it himself. He said, "I am a Marine. I'm not an entrepreneur. What do you mean that I have entrepreneurial talent?" And Jason said, "The science does not lie. This is just how it is. You are created with massive potential to be able to succeed in this entrepreneurial aspect." So he went and ventured out, and although his first attempt at doing something entrepreneurial did not work, he refined it, he realigned it, he put forward what his purpose in life was, and was able to fund Alvarez Aerospace. And once he created that company, it became a massive success. They won #1 in the Aggie 100 fastest growing companies in the world, and they continue to be in the top 10, I believe. So they succeeded massively, and still today they are changing the world at Alvarez Aerospace. Then later, what Jason Walker decided to do was, you know what, I need to focus on the veterans, the population here in the United States that really needs to be unleashed. And so VetMap was born, and he created an actual system to help veterans identify what their actual strengths are, be able to define what their values are, and discern their unique purpose in life so that they can go achieve ambitions in alignment with their purpose. So he started a pilot at Texas A&M University in 2019 after Congress told him, hey, this sounds like a very cool program that we would like to actually put out into the world here in the United States, but you need some data. So he went and got some data by doing a pilot at Texas A&M University from 2019 till 2024. And so the rest is history. Here we are. Oop, my bad. This is what I'm going to show you data-wise. Upon leaving the military, and these are the veterans who have chosen, once they have gotten out of the military, that they want to go down the university route rather than the entrepreneurial route or the I'm going to get a job route. So out of those veterans who say that they want to go out into the world and do this, 45% say that they are not prepared to transition. And then 67% say that they are not optimistic about their future. Personally, this seems accurate to me, but I think that the numbers are personally higher. Are there any veterans in the room? Yes. Would you say that the rates of optimism are actually lower when you get out in this? Yeah, I would say so too. So within the first few years, 67% are not optimistic about their future. And I find it interesting because in comparison from 45 to 67, I dare say that this little percentage right here didn't know exactly what they were facing. So once they got out, it was actually as bad as they thought it was going to be, or worse than they actually thought it was going to be. As far as student veterans' points of failure, which is the point that we are going to be focusing a little bit on just for the sake of data itself, upon acceptance into college, which is the absolute baseline, once they have established we want to go to college and this is going to be the route that we take, and 100% of them have been accepted into college, 33% of them do not graduate. They do not get to go, walk the stage. And out of the ones who do make it, 22% of the remainder don't land a job in the first year after graduating, which is a pretty big deal because a lot of veterans have family members. They have children, they have wives, husbands, etc. And they have to take care of people. People depend on them. So even just 2 weeks of not having a job can impact them a lot. So this causes them to go and seek job after job, thing after thing, throwing things against the wall to see if anything sticks, which is something that veterans are notoriously really good at doing. Why? Because we are very resilient people. And then afterwards, of those that do actually get a job within the first year of graduating, 44% of the remainder don't last 12 months in the first job, and 20% of them last less than 6 months. The average amount of jobs that veterans tend to have in the course of several years is so incredibly high, it's ridiculous. It's so sad. And so that's why we consider the true success rate, for the sake of the data that we collected, to be 23.4% from the point of when they get to college all the way to a year after they graduate. So here's our question. Is there an intervention which could meaningfully impact the points of failure and thus the true success rate for student veterans? So some of the research that we had done actually points directly into purpose, which is exactly what we hoped for when we started doing this whole thing. Employees who know their life purpose and align their work to their unique purpose are statistically advantaged in their life and in their work. In their life, they have higher energy, satisfaction, health, and resilience. And at work, they have higher satisfaction, engagement, connection with their peers, and excitement. So our intervention hypothesis is, if we empower veterans to be able to discern their purpose in life and align that their work to their purpose in life, then we will see significant measurable improvements in those points of failure. So I want to explain how we go about this, and I'm going to use a metaphor for you. So our personal metaphor is that in order to discern the unique purpose in your life, which we are going to refer to as a mountain, we have to look at things clearly. So we're going to imagine that we have binoculars in front of us. And in these binoculars, we have one lens that is called talents and one lens that is called values. In the lens that is called talents are the things that you are innately really great at doing, the things that you do well in how you think, feel, and behave. This is different from skills, which we'll cover later. On the other side of the lens is values. These are the top things that just matter the most to you, the things that actually drive you, the things that you want to do, and the things that help you get up in the morning. Everybody has a purpose. We believe at VetMap that everybody's created on purpose and for a purpose. And there are as many mountains of purpose as there are people in the world. And so in order to be able to discern your unique purpose in life, you have to look through both things at the intersection of what you are really good at doing and what you value most. That's where purpose lies. So by using these binoculars, we identify your mountain of purpose. And then once you identify your mountain of purpose, you start climbing up the mountain, creating ambitions that are in alignment with your purpose. So what's important about this? As far as purpose goes, it is free of context. That means that it is free of any kind of borders that you have ambitions-wise. It's not something that you achieve, it is something that you live in. My personal purpose in life is to be a conduit of grace, advocating for truth through a flame of conviction. And ambitions that are in alignment with that purpose are certainly not things that would lead me astray from being a conduit of grace, certainly not things that would deter me from being a flame of conviction. Ambitions in alignment to that purpose would be things like the things that I'm doing today, speaking to you about this amazing program, right? And so now with the ambition ladders, once you start climbing your mountain of purpose, the cool thing about it is that even if you fail, even if you fall, you don't fall backwards, you fall forwards. Because if you seek ambitions that are not in alignment with your purpose, you're just going to be throwing things against the wall to see what sticks, and you're going to keep falling backwards, not knowing exactly where you went wrong. But when you do actually know what went wrong, it's a whole lot easier to actually redirect yourself. The rungs within the ladder represent the goals themselves that you put in front of you in order to achieve these ambitions. And in addition to this metaphor, I want to put our minds into another perspective. Anybody ever done land navigation with compasses? Yeah? So as far as land navigation goes, when you're walking down a line and you say you have to go somewhere like 3/4 of a mile, and your compass is just 1 degree off, you won't notice the difference too much, but it'll be there. You're going to end up somewhere slightly different. However, if you keep walking 10 miles, 100 miles, and your compass is just 1 degree off, the difference is going to be astounding the further that you go. Now translate that into years. In 6 months, you might not realize the difference of how off you were. But in 10 years, in 30 years, you'll end up somewhere that you had no idea how you ended up there. And that's exactly what we want to account for. Because at VetMap, we believe that it's never too late to identify and discern your purpose in life. The important thing is that you just do it. So here's the p2i journey broken down into actual pieces so that it makes sense. We start with talent, in discovering your talents and understanding the power zones that you have within yourself, how you work in the areas of work, what makes you unique in the innate ways that you think, feel, and behave, and how you can turn those into strengths. You turn talents into strengths by being able to invest time into them, by learning, and by putting effort into them. And we coach people one-on-one in order to attain this. Then comes the next step, which is define your values, where we have veterans and people define their top 5 values in life and be able to actually put a tagline next to them to what these things mean. And then we have purpose. At purpose, this is the point where we take both point A and B with talents and values and put them together to find the intersection between the two and discern their unique purpose in life. After that, we go into ambitions, where we help veterans describe like what kind of ambitions they actually would think are in alignment with this purpose. And we guide them one-on-one through the entire process, all the way through goals. And the advanced part of this program is called the personal brand. And the personal brand is important in that once they did the hard work of being able to describe all of these steps and being able to define what the next step in their life is, then they will be able to create a personal brand where they can actually describe coherently and confidently what it is that they are doing and why they are doing it. Why? Because most people don't take the time to say why they do the thing that they do. They just say what they are doing. And that's personally my most boring question. What do you do? How about ask me, why do I do what I do? All right, so let's get down to some actual definitions so that we know what we're getting into. So what is talent? We're using the word talent in terms of Gallup's Clifton Strengths talent definition. And we're using the term of talent here because we have figured out that this is the most accurate test that actually tells you what it is that you have within you. So not to say that this is the only test out there that can actually measure what you are good at doing, but this seems to be the most reliable one. So talent is a natural recurring pattern of thinking, feeling, and behaving. And where a strength equals a talent times the investment itself that you put into it. And so then what is purpose? I don't feel like I need to define what values are. Values are the things that you value. They're the things that help you wake up in the morning, right? But purpose is, VetMap's purpose definition is the essential aim of one's life, the mountain itself. What is an ambition? VetMap's ambition definition is a tangible desired outcome beyond 1 year. So this is the ladder itself. This is the thing that is probably going to take a year or longer to actually achieve. And goals are the rungs of the ladder, which are the desired outcomes within a year that you're able to just get done and check off the list. Whoops, sorry. So I'm going to return to our intervention hypothesis. If we empower veterans to discern their unique life purpose and align their life and work ambitions with their purpose, then we will see significant measurable improvement in the true success for student veterans. And so below here is our data. After several years and multiple cohorts of actually doing this, we recognize that we have an 84% true success rate compared to the national average, which is 23%. Within our 84% success rate, after 100% of veterans have been accepted into college, 5% will not graduate. However, I'll tell you what, I am proud of that number. And that sounds weird. Why would you be proud of 5% not graduating college? Well, because once they went through our program, it became apparent at some point for most of these individuals that their purpose was not something that actually was supposed to lead them into college. Their ambitions were not in alignment with their purpose, and one of those ambitions was college. So what did? We redirected. Some of them decided to go back to work for their family's farm. Some of them decided to quit college and become entrepreneurs. They didn't want to waste any more time. And why should you waste more time rather than just get on to do the thing that you're supposed to do, right? I started off getting my degree in elementary education and then switched around, and then here I am working for veterans. You know, life is too short to just do the thing that you're not supposed to do, right? However, after 5% of those did not graduate, 100% of those people who did continue on through college and went through our program had a job within 1 year. And important to note, 94.7% of our p2i graduates had a job offer prior to graduation, which was massive, a whole lot better than what we were actually calculating and something that we were not expecting at all. But it worked. And then later, 12% will not last 12 months at their first employer. However, I will say there's two big points here. On one end, they realize this is not really in alignment with my purpose. There was something here that was just not right, and I could have caught it earlier, but I needed to pay more attention. And so what did they do? They stick around with us. They still stay in contact with us, and they said, yeah, this one ambition didn't really work out, and I'm not sure why. But once we actually looked at their stuff and all the hard work that they did, then we were able to recognize, oh, this thing was in conflict with one of your most important values, or, oh, they were not actually utilizing this talent of yours, or, oh, you know what, you were not quite designed for this kind of job position, and for whatever reason at the moment, they didn't recognize that. And the other reason why I want to point out the 12% over here is that we have not gathered enough data to actually recognize if they did not stay because they found something more in alignment with their purpose. So that's just something to throw out there. Okay, this is a timeout for me. Do you guys have any questions based on the stuff that I've covered so far?
The resource p2i, is there you just like, how do I search for that program?
For the program, like on a website, our website is vetmap.us. Yes, sir.
So I really like the land nav example. So I really like the land nav example you used. Not because of purpose, but because when we actually do land nav, if you do what you described, you're going to fail. Yeah, you will, and people who have done that know that you're going to fail. You have to use, you always have to maintain your awareness where you are. Use your terrain to associate the terrain on the map with the terrain that you're seeing and where you're going. The other thing that's helpful is to not necessarily go straight there and try to blaze your own trail. You want to use the roads that are already established, get on those roads, and then know where to go off those roads. So it works on several levels. So I really appreciate that. That's all I have. I'm sure I'll have more comments at the end. But yeah.
Well, I'm so glad. Thank you so much for your comments. And I'm glad that you were able to identify the deeper meaning behind that, because it's really a good metaphor. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Any questions?
Not necessarily a question, but I really like the call out of recognizing that sometimes we go down paths either because that's what was already, maybe your upbringing, your the live experience where they want you to go to college, or they want you to even go into entrepreneurship, and maybe you do want to go to college, those kind of pieces, and having the bravery to pivot. I think that is just an excellent call out in what you're sharing, is that bravery, the courage to be able to say, maybe I actually want something different, and that's okay.
Exactly. One point.
So Danny, quick question for you. So you were in the Army,
Yes,
you went to college, graduated from A&M. When you went through VetMap, how did that change your trajectory? Maybe
by a lot. By a lot. I thought that I knew myself, and then I went through this and I found deeper and deeper layers that were just waiting to be uncovered. And once I uncovered them and actually utilized the actionable things that the program was giving me in order to succeed, I was able to change the rest of the course of my life. So I kid you not when I say this program saved my life, and it just influenced me great. So thank you. I appreciate that. And one of the points actually that I meant to make before I got off of that one slide was, let me see, hold on. One of the points that I meant to make over here was about anchoring your identity. So veterans are very resilient, and we know that. They're really good at playing this game that's called throwing things against the wall to see what sticks, because they know what it is like to have to try and try and try again until you just get it right. However, what if we actually had some kind of scientific way in order to help measure what path will be best for you, right? And this is not something that we just give them like a what do you call them, like a fortune cookie, and say, this is your purpose in life, and this is the ambitions that you should have in your life. No, they go through a rigorous point and process in order to be able to understand these things for themselves. However, with anchoring your identity, what a lot of people tend to do is they anchor their identity in their ambitions. But you should not anchor your identity in your ambitions, because you should hold your ambitions with open palms. Why? Because life happens, and something might go wrong, and you might not be able to do and achieve the ambition that was set in front of you. And if that is the case, then if you anchor your identity there, you're going to feel horrible, like a failure, like things don't work, and you're going to feel like the world is against you, and start to feel like there's just something wrong within you, when really, perhaps that ambition was just not right for you in the first place. What you should be anchoring your identity into, and you should hold with closed hands, is purpose, because it is free of context. It is something that you can do anywhere in life. A purpose could be to enhance the lives of others through commitment and service. People can do that at Chick-fil-A. They could do that as nurses. They could do that as teachers, right? That purpose itself is free of context. But if you say, I want to make 15 people laugh every day, that's not exactly a purpose. That's an ambition. That's something that you're trying to achieve. And it's something that if you anchor your identity into, is going to really mess you up. So let's not do that. A purpose is to aim at, and an ambition is to achieve.
Danny.
Yes. Yes.
So when we talk about the ambition part, I think, we're taught young, set goals, right? Those ambitions, the things we're working toward doing. How do we shift our mindset from being ambition focused, goals focused, to this larger picture of purpose? And how can we start that conversation earlier?
I love that question. Okay. So how can we make those conversations earlier, and how can we shift the focus? I do think personally that the world is geared in such a way where you're supposed to just go, and everything is supposed to be fast paced, and you better have your life figured out by the time you're 18, or else what are you going to do, right? That's how I felt. That was my personal motivation to join the Army at 17 years old. And although I don't regret my time in service, I did recognize 6 years later, and after a couple of injuries and other things, this was just not the thing that was meant for me. And I felt like I was the problem, when really, in reality, it was not something that I was supposed to step into. It's something that, in my opinion, it needs to be instilled young. The conversations of, you are not what you do. You are more than what you accomplish. You can do more by living in your purpose and understanding yourself. Which is something that we'll go into, the whole understanding yourself and gaining introspective awareness and why that matters. So if you can help like your kids, your peers, those who look up to you, the people who you lead, actually gain some more introspective understanding. And furthermore, if you care about them, then you will see some significant change if you actually care to understand them to a greater depth. So we'll cover that later as well. We just went through the first half over here, and then we'll go into these other things. And yeah, but any other questions? We good? Yes, great. Okay, so why does understanding yourself matter? Well, it matters because I think that in the greater perspective of the world, one thing that really matters is trust. And the currency of your career should be trust. The way that you attain relationships and maintain them is through trust. And trust itself, however, is not either black or white. It is contextual. So I'm using a part of a framework from Dr. Henry Cloud's Trust, which is a great book, and in order to help y'all understand this. The first half is universal, meaning this is simply what trust is universally and what people tend to understand. And the second half is contextual. So let's start with universal. First, it starts with understanding. Do you get me? And I'm going to go into the pieces after I explain each one. Intent. Are you for me? Competence. Are you good at the task? And character. Will you come through? The first three here are more flexible. As time goes on, you tend to find out more about their understanding of you or your understanding of them, their intent for you, and their competence fluctuates and either increases or decreases. However, character is the one thing that is actually fixed. Fixed in the sense that you either have some of those character traits or you don't in order to achieve the task desired. For example, Melanie McCoy, I have high trust in. I have high trust in her capacity to be able to create a whole system and program and something like this for us to enjoy today. I have massive trust in her ability to do that. However, do I have trust in her performing heart surgery on me? Probably not, right? Does that mean she's untrustworthy? No, it just means that the trust itself is contextual. So let's go into those phases. The first phase is understanding. Do you get me? And this is where we're going to go through this glasses metaphor. So think of a person, any person, and think of just how much they actually know themselves, how much evidence you have of they actually understand themselves introspectively. They have language to articulate what they are good at doing, what they value, why they do the things that they do. Now, however full the glass of water actually is, like it represents how much they actually understand themselves. So if they understand themselves to a greater depth, that means that they have a greater capacity for them to understand you. And that's what you hope for in a leader. You hope that a leader is actually going to be introspective, that they know themselves well, that they know why they do the things in the company that they do, and that they can articulate themselves in that way. However, you encounter another person who has a smaller capacity for understanding themselves, and this is the absolute limit, the capacity that they will have to understand you as a person. Why is that a problem? Well, first of all, because in order for them to get to this point, this very shallow point, that means that if they take the time to understand you to the great extent that they have understood themselves, which isn't a whole lot, that means this is the capacity, this is the bandwidth that they have to actually get you. So how much are they actually going to spend trying to get to know you in comparison to this? Probably about less than a fifth, right? Hoping that you spend like every single day with them or something like that. However, on the other end, if they have a greater capacity for understanding themselves, that means they're actually going to have a greater capacity to understand you as well. So that's one thing. Intent. Are you for me? Are you able to articulate the values that actually matter to you? And these are the things that we teach our veterans to do who go through the process. Be able to articulate why things matter to you. So for me, one of my top 5 values is humility. And to me, humility means if you do not, you can only actually serve people well if you take the time to actually lead them well. And so to me, with humility, you actually have to put in the work to actually get to know people. You know, if you don't get to know people, how can you do that? So are you for me? Competence. Are you good at the task? So this is where talents versus skills comes in. So talents is the innate thing that you have in order to be able to do something, the recurring pattern of thought, feeling, and behavior. Skills are learned. Skills are something that you just acquire. Not everybody knows how to do a PowerPoint slide deck, right? Not everybody knows how to generate an email. They don't learn that till like what, 8, 9 years old nowadays. So a skill is something that you acquire. A talent is something that you already have. Character, however, will you come through? That is the point that is fixed. In order to achieve the task at hand, do you have the character to actually get it done? Are you kind and calm, or do you need to be tenacious and hard, etc.? Okay, now, after going through the whole point of actually understanding trust and helping our veterans understand this is why you should use this as a currency model, then we help them also understand, in order to get their personal brands and everything done, what their power zones are, what their domains are, and their talents, which we call their brand, their style, and their tools. At a very high level, the power zones are the area of work in which people actually get something done. So at the point where they are able to articulate in which point of the process they are at, from actually being 50,000 feet in the air and actually landing. So what is the point that you are at in power zones? As far as domains, their style, these are the domains in which, through the Clifton Strengths test, that we calculate what they have. So I personally lead with relationship buildings, talents, then strategic thinking, executing, and then influencing. And the talents, the tools, are the stuff that are in the weeds. And these are the specific talents that are called in order to actually serve you in what you are trying to get done. The optimal match, in order to find something that is in alignment with your purpose, would allow you to have a certain level of job crafting or through an entrepreneurial path. So the job crafting method, it starts really with understanding yourself to such a great extent to where you can advocate for yourself in what you are good at doing and what you are not. And these things start in the interview process, which we have had great feedback from the veterans that go through our process, saying, yeah, this actually really did work for me. And they said that I've had one of the best interviews in the entire process that they've ever seen. And it's very much because they are very open and honest from the get-go. If you want what's best out of me, you will be able to provide me this. However, if the task itself, if the job itself requires something different, can we find a point to negotiate? Can we find a point where I can pivot a little bit so that I can serve you and the company best? And also, it allows them to see you open and honestly, but you also gain a very important sensor within you to spot the red flags that you otherwise would have missed and you wouldn't have realized until 6 months, a year, or 2 years into a company, which is what we don't want. We don't want them figuring these things out so late in the process. Life is too short for that. Just figure it out right then and there. So job crafting or through the entrepreneurial path, because in our process, we also help identify veterans who have entrepreneurial talent. And once we identify that, we also place another specific test for them to take so that we know how to serve them best and how to lead them better and what kind of resources to send them into. So I'm going to run very quickly through what power zones are, very like big overview kind, because we don't have a whole lot of time. But the power zones themselves are different from the talents. This is a actual framework that Jason Walker, the founder, created, as opposed to the Clifton Strengths, which was created by Don Clifton, who was also a veteran, by the way. The power zones model itself has 6 zones. The contemplating, which is the very first step in which ideas and thoughts are created. The brainstorming point in which people ask the big questions. Then we move into inventing. This is a point where people who have talked already to the people who have the big thoughts and the big questions, they say, hey, I need to create something out of nothing. These are my thoughts, though. Can you please help me put something down on this blank sheet of paper? And those people love that. They love to be the ones to actually create something out of nothing. Then we have the refiners. In refining, people are able to actually polish up whatever has been given to them. So all the things that the inventors have already created, which were probably a little bit wrong, needed a little bit of tweaking, the refiners are going to catch, modify, polish, and send over to the influencers. In the influencing power zone, people are able to actually understand how they can motivate people and send those things forward, how they can actually create calls to action so that people get excited about whatever it is that the other people have created. And then we have 2 points in order to get things across to the finish line. We have the supporting power zone and the finishing power zone. The supporting power zone is very feelings oriented and very people oriented, very I want to take care of you in the best way possible. And so they serve people in the way that they specifically need, as opposed to finishing, which focuses more on the task itself just getting done. It's like, stay out of my chili, let me just take care of this, give me the budget, and I'll get it done. Out of these 6 power zones, everybody has either a power zone, a competency zone, or a frustration zone. I want you to think about this in terms of coffee. So let's think about coffee. A power zone feels like this amazing, magical steel mug that keeps your coffee piping hot the entire day, and every time you take a sip, it just feels delicious. You could do this thing all day long, 24 hours a day. You could think all day long, you could invent all day long, you could refine, influence, etc. Whatever it is that your power zone is, you could do that thing all day. A competency is something kind of like a ceramic mug. A ceramic mug coffee where it's good at the beginning, but after a few, like 3 hours or something, coffee's not going to be really good. 6 hours, it's going to be terrible. You are good at doing the task, but you don't necessarily enjoy it to the point where you can do it all day, every day. This is a point where we warn our veterans, don't get stuck in a position where if you have a competency zone here and you get a job that requires you to use this a whole lot, try to not get stuck in a position where you have to do that all the time. Because eventually, the thing that you do enjoy doing in the beginning, you will end up resenting. And the frustration zone is like getting coffee at the 7-Eleven in the middle of the night, and it just tastes nasty. Something's growing in there, and you just know it's not going to be good. That's what a frustration zone is. You try to stay away from those. So by understanding these things and gaining some deeper introspective awareness, we help our veterans understand and actually voice out what are the things that you are actually good at doing and what are the areas of work that you are most powerful in that will help serve the companies that you're going forward and applying jobs for, or things that you can partner for entrepreneurially. So 50,000 feet is where contemplating starts all the way down to finishing. Say you're going to take a trip. The contemplators are like, you know what? Let's think about all the people here. They're all from really cold countries, et cetera, et cetera. They're from cold regions. Let's take them to Hawaii. How do we get there? The inventors say, oh yeah, we're going to have to take this route and we're going to have to do X, Y, Z, and this is the plan that we have for you. Refiners are going to say, let me look at that actually. Actually, you missed this one step. Let me just refine and polish that for you. You didn't really quite think about this right, so let me just refine that for you. The influencers are going to say, okay, guys, we're going to Hawaii. They're out there in the airplane and they're saying, hey, this is the plan and this is how we're going to execute it. Let's get excited. And the supporters and the finishers are those who are going to be people-oriented, keeping everybody on task. Everybody's going to be very happy and calm once we land. Here's a little coconut drink so that when you step off, you're in a good mood. Finishers are like, okay, people, you're going to grab your bags and you're going to go, and we're going to get out of this plane in less than 2 minutes. Let's go. Okay. Any questions? And I think I can only take maybe 2 questions. No? Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So next up, is the actionable plans that lead to tangible results. These are the personal brands that we have our veterans do once they complete the process. And we have this really cool thing in the program where we take veterans who are from the Texas A&M cohort, and we help take them to the Alvarez Impact Conference. So remember Mr. John Alvarez from earlier? He now helps fund VetMap in such a great way, and he has become such an influential part in order for us to do what we're able to do. So we take our people through this, and we take them to the conference in where they are actually able to talk about all these things. So the personal brands are these essentially part of this, which I'm going to show you. You start off with the Power Zone moniker. I am personally a contemplator, refiner who supports. So I contemplate, I refine, and support. My top 5 talents are intellection, connectedness, empathy, input, and belief. And my top 5 values are truth, trustworthiness, courage through authenticity, humility, and wisdom. I can explain each one of these to a great depth thanks to the personal brand itself, which I'm not going to read to you in its entirety because it's a lot. But out of my top 5 talents, my personal favorites are number 1 and 5. 1, as an intellection, I provide authenticity and depth to processes and relationships. And what that means is that I just love to think. I love to contemplate all day. I love to think deeply and profoundly. And I recognize thinking as equally as powerful as doing. And I crave authentic conversations about deep subjects with others. And as far as belief, that's my number 1 way of executing. And I define that as a flame of conviction. To me, my actions are directly driven by my true north, which are my values. And I help others stay true to their mission by making and upholding value-based decisions. In order to do this, I support teams as an anchor, and I am steadfast as by my inner compass itself. And I also think it's important to note sometimes what are the things that you're not really good at doing. So as far as talents go in the Clifton and Strengths model, we don't believe in weaknesses. The things that you have at the bottom are not things that you need to fix. They're just simply things that you have less talent in. What's actually a weakness is something that gets in the way of your purpose, in the way of your success. So for me, my bottom talents are communication, deliberative, includer, strategic, and maximizer. So I am not a person that loves to speak in public, but I am able to do certain things and create some impact through my belief. And here are my values. And then we create a purpose, method, impact statement to actually help people understand what it is that you do, how you get it done, and why you do it. So the idea behind this is, if you continue to live your purpose in life, what will be the footprint that you would leave behind? And this is the far futuristic kind of mindset that we help our veterans have, so that they recognize, if I continue to do this, I will actually leave some impact behind. And this is where the purpose to impact journey really ties in together. So this is part of my values and my purpose, method, impact. So as far as my purpose, method, impact, the biggest thing for me is that I hope to inspire others to transition from being passive participants and become active agents of their lives, and therefore ignite the lives that they touch, creating a wave of deep-rooted influence. And so lastly, I want to address some nuances. I'm not going to stand up here and say, this is the thing that will fix your life forever and ever, and nothing ever in your life will go wrong, because that's crazy. That's some kind of crazy assumption to make, that by following this model, you will never have a problem in your life. No, things still happen. And so I want to address a few things. The thing that we do at VetMap is not a replacement for therapy. It's not a replacement for the mental health needs that people need to address in order to live their life to the fullest. If we recognize some kind of mental health need in a veteran, we are able to create a really good environment of safety for them, to where we are able to have an open conversation about, have you thought about how this might affect you mentally or emotionally? Have you seen any kind of patterns where this has affected you negatively? And so I'm not going to claim that this is the thing that will fix everything, but because we are not therapists, we are Sherpas. And so following the whole mountain metaphor, we are Sherpas that want to guide people. We're not going to carry everything for you or tell you this is where you're going to be and this is going to be the end forever. We're just going to say we've walked this path before with many people before in order to climb Mount Everest, and this is what the path typically looks like. So let's walk this way in a safe manner. So addressing some nuances. As far as it goes with mental health and just things that happen in life, one important thing to note is that, yes, a lot of our veterans come with mental health issues, with emotional disturbance, with a lot of baggage and stuff, myself included. I do have PTSD. I deal with a whole lot of lack of sleep. Like last night, I think I only got like 3 hours of sleep because of it. So it's just something that you continuously deal with. However, it's taken 5 years for me personally to go through intensive therapy, to go through the VetMap process, to actually understand myself introspectively enough to take on the steps necessary in order to continue making my life better for myself and those around me. So what I want to address is the nuances themselves. So imagine everybody's a blank slate, everybody has a blank glass, a blank cup. And when something bad happens to you that is adding on to those emotional, distressing situations, the things that take up mental space, the triggers that you have, the things that just affect you overall in your health, those things are these liquids. And say something really bad happened, that's liquid number one. And then you go through life and, life happens and another thing happens. So I'm going to use this metaphor to address like veterans, for example. Once they get to this point where there are so many things that have happened, this is the actual bandwidth left that they have right here to be able to deal with life. All of these other things, the things that people consider to be just normal, feel overwhelming. And so why should we be aware of this? Well, because it's something to be mindful of whenever we go through the p2i journey. And I want to address this to you guys today, that we are not the thing that will fix everything, but we are aware of this. And the indifference, there's the other side of the spectrum where people have more bandwidth despite the things that they have dealt with in their life, their childhood traumas, the things that happen with their parents, etc. They are able to have more bandwidth to be able to deal with more. And what would be a really cool thing that could help at least address something, like address the negative thought, the negative belief that I am a failure because everything that I try just does not work. That is just a lie. That just means that you're not living in alignment with your purpose. And so how we try to fix that is by helping remodify and reframe those parts of their brain to think, no, what is actually in alignment with my purpose is something in alignment with who I am, how I'm designed, and what I value. So we help them take away a bit of that excess so that they can free a little bit of bandwidth. The rest of the stuff, the mental health things, that's something that we can help refer to them somewhere else. However, these lies that sometimes take up so much space in our minds are the things that we help address so that people can actually free up their bandwidth and actually live really good purpose-centered lives. So if you go away today and the only thing that you hear is a lot of nonsense, data, and cups, this is the thing that I want you to walk away with. Life is far too short to chase what's next if you don't know why you're chasing it. So figure out your why. Any questions? No?
We are at time, but
All right,
you probably
great.
stay around for a little bit, right,
Yeah,
Daniel?
no worries.
Thank you so much for sharing. I went through the program and it changed my life, and I'm just so thankful that you were able to be here today.
Thank you, Marnie.
And a small token of appreciation.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank
For
you.
coming all the way from Texas A&M today and driving back later. So I appreciate you and thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And we will be back after lunch. Thank you.